What up, everybody, and welcome to the new episode of the SVR podcast. Welcome aboard, everybody, to the SVR podcast. Today's episode, oh boy, this is going to be a lot of fun. In today's podcast, we have someone who has been wrestled back in 2014, currently retired, temporary, forever, probably forever, and he has played a lot of gimmicks on his own that, makes him stand out in some aspects. And he's from UK, even though the way you guys hear him sounds very American.
Again, that's what a lot of tell me.
Of course. So I'm gonna introduce y'all for today's podcast, and his name is Rose Apollo. Welcome aboard, man, to the SVR podcast.
Hey, good looks. I'm doing pretty well. Just been working a lot and stuff, and just focusing on myself.
Hey, man, I feel you, man.
And that's all.
I feel you. The grind, it pays the hard work, man. I feel you.
And that's what it's all about, mate.
Yes. So, Apollo, basically what I'm going to do with you is basically have to tell you 10 questions in regards about wrestling in general and how you doing, and, just share your thoughts and your insights about within those questions. So without further ado, are you ready for the first question?
Ready when you are, mate.
All right, man. So first question is about, debuting and appear for the very first time. Remind you, back in 2014, you got to introduce to this sport of genre known as Pro Wrestling, or what we could call it, Roblox Wrestling, because Roblox Wrestling, two of them in common. Anyhow, my question is, from your experience and first impression, what got you interested in Pro Wrestling in the first place?
You see, back in like those days, and I'm sure you heard this from like a lot of people, sword fighting was something that I like used to do and whatnot. However, due to the fact that I was on mobile and just like literally my whole Pro Wrestling career, on mobile and stuff, really, I got interested because like when me and my brother was young at the time, he started doing that stuff, with his friends, and then like he had told me about it because they only had like two people, him and his friend and whatnot, and then I ended up joining and stuff like that. And like when we first did it and whatnot, and they showed me, like how to wrestle and stuff like that. And keep in mind, no shift lock was really used during that time, at least from my knowledge. And like we were all just no shifters. However, like when I had won my first match against my bro, it kind of pissed him off. I'm not gonna lie, which is why he stopped doing it like a year after. But yeah, he tried to make it into like a WWE like, place. And I will say, like, all throughout like 2014 and shit like that, we've only gained like 3 more members and whatnot. But there were like people who he was friends with, and that was really it, man.
I mean, with sword fighting, I can see that, yeah, because actually it's true. I remember when we first got introduced to sword fighting, we never used chef lock in our entire life. We never used chef lock in the first place, and so we didn't know what reach was at the time.
Well, I mean, to be honest, when it came to like sword fighting and stuff like that, they were basically like a one hit kill. To be honest, like if you were hit with the sword within like what 1 or 2 hits, then you were already dead. So,
Yeah.
and on the reach part, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because reach never existed in sword fighting in the first place. Not until Roblox Wrestling came around and decided to, hey, let's invent this thing called reach. All right. So, second question. Now, the landscape of Roblox Wrestling has changed a lot over the years. So you get to see a lot of new people came around and try
Mm.
to thrive in the greatness and try to thrive in, you know, kind of do the same thing as what other people would do. A lot of times that people have tried to, change how they evolve in wrestling, they do it not the way they could have. And so Apollo, in what changes that have evolved in World Wrestling you appreciate the most out of everything else?
Well, it's strange, man, because back then, pro wrestling, was it started off as a as a small community. You know, it started off small and then it worked its way up and whatnot. And a few changes that I will say that I appreciate a lot. It revolves around like a lot of the little stuff, such as, attires, and stuff like that. You have people who make, very detailed like clothing and whatnot for pro wrestlers and stuff like that. And then you got bigger feds such as, FO, although FO is no longer around, sadly. I wish I had the chance to go there, to be honest. And not only that, mate, like you gotta, you just got, a lot of people, in the community, and which is kind of in a way, it's kind of a problem, which I'll speak on that later on. But yeah, just the arc of it. We got stuff such as shift lock, better cleans, and stuff like that. We're actually able to, have a decent fight in wrestling.
The thing about swinging and the timing is that it takes a lot of time to figure this out, especially since when it
Oof.
came to wrestling, you guys didn't have to like introduce the timing and swinging that much until years later. You
Nope.
guys, you guys, ever since wrestling have evolved, you guys are spitting all over like way too much.
I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, mate, like I can tell you, like when I learned how to swing and whatnot, when I had like shift lock and shit. Like, well, I mean, shift lock was already a thing when I learned how to like, swing and stuff like that. But as a mobile player, it's like very hard to do, especially when you got to tap your screen as well, while you're swinging. Like it's a nightmare at times, but yeah.
Third question. So there's been a lot of things that it has the term of entertainment, and we treat this as competition. Thing going on in wrestling where sometimes most people say, oh, we're doing this for fun, oh, we're doing this for competition. So what do you think lets pro wrestling apart from other forms of entertainment or sport?
Well, I mean, if we're gonna look at it from sports and whatnot perspective, wrestling, being an entertainment, like gaming community and whatnot, it's like you're doing it with like in-game characters. You're not actually doing it. And when it comes to sports and whatnot, you're actually playing it. You know, like you're not on a game. Because you're actually there. Witnessing it for yourself. Rather than being a blocky character. Swinging around a clean and whatnot. But I mean, at times, still kind of entertaining. You know, but yeah. Although what I will say is wrestling definitely it is definitely competitive. definitely competitive, which is what I could say is a similarity between the two.
If you think about from the perspective of the entertainment, yes, of course they would say we do this for fun. Like they're not actually gonna be like, oh, full time pro wrestler or not. I mean, for me, when I say I'm doing it for fun, I mean I like to experiment more. Even if I wrestle back in 2017, I still gonna just I like to provide entertainment with people I wanted to entertain with. Exactly with the storylines and with which we get into that question later on, of course. Provided storylines and actually tried to work with people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and when you said, you do it for fun, that's good, and that's really why I did it. I did it, because of the fun as well. I wasn't trying to be competitive, but I will say I'm definitely not an angel when it comes to, being competitive at times. Because, like, I will say, especially like during title matches, I would be highly competitive. But yeah.
Highly anticipated. Fourth question. So there is a difference between living yourself up and advancing yourself in life, as in, just accomplish yourself more in life. Can you with these terms, right? Can you share a comparison between leveling up in the game, which is wrestling, and advancing in life?
Well, when it comes to advancing in life, it means that you're starting to grow, as a person. You know, what you're aware of what your priorities is. You know what I mean? You know what you got to do and whatnot, and you're taking time to focus on yourself. And you find and you feel yourself, building over time. And when it comes to leveling up in the game and whatnot, if we're gonna put it in that type of perspective, well, I don't know. But if we're gonna put it in a sense of getting better at it, you just start doing things and you win a lot more. You get more skilled. In which, as I said, it is two different things because when it comes to my bad. So yeah, when it comes to growing as a person and whatnot, that's a real life thing. And when it comes to leveling up or getting better, etc., at a game and whatnot, it's just a game. But what I will say, building yourself is way better, than trying to get better at a game.
Which also we're gonna ask about that question later on, of course. Um, Fifth question. Now, over the last episode, I have asked two wrestlers who they were top five, and this was a different question. I said to them, top five underrated Roblox wrestler of all time, and they said to me only five of them, of course. Some of them were familiar faces, and some of them were not familiar faces. And the only reason we say underrated is because they're super underappreciated within their talent and their work. Simply. Now, I know you have worked with a lot of people in Roblox wrestling community. You have worked with most people that are where Super Supreme, not like Super Supreme. What I'm saying is Supreme that they, on their prime back in the day, and they had some compelling storylines that you could find enjoyable at least. Who's your favorite pro wrestler in Roblox wrestling? And why would you consider that as the favorite wrestler that you think of out of everyone else? I know it could be biased, but just tell me why.
I'm gonna be honest, there's a lot of people, but when it all comes down to it, I have to go with the person that I found out about first. And there's actually two people. One of the people I can't name due to obvious reasons. But the first person is the Master Butch. I found out about him via a YouTube upload. and like his theme, and plus I love Linkin Park, one of my favorite bands, and I think the song was called With You. I started listening to it a lot and whatnot, and then like when I went to this one Big Fed, I think it was AXW, he had versed, he had fought some guy. I think it was I think the guy was an Undertaker gimmick, if I'm not mistaken, and whatnot. And I actually got to like see him like we're wrestling and whatnot. And yeah, if I'm gonna be honest, the Master Butch is by far my favorite of all time pro wrestler.
And everybody has their own insights of who they consider their favorite pro wrestler. I mean, especially since when people say it, they kind of feel a little bit inspired towards wrestlers that they work with. Um, it's very hard to, because even when people say that, they probably wish they wanted to work with with these type of people one day. Who knows? Maybe a dream match.
I definitely had a dream match, and well, I wanted several dream matches, in my opinion. Him being one of those people, you know. And the thing is, like, it's like a lot of things evolve around. Well, I'm gonna save that for later, just in case if it's a question that pops up. But yeah, he was definitely a dream match.
Okay. Sixth question. So you have involved a lot of matches. It's storylines coming around with wrestlers over the last few years, and some of them were like impactful. A lot of times were extremely underappreciated in the community, simply because they didn't like. Not a lot of people have seen the outcome and how the results went on. And so, can you share your story, saying what is your best match stipulation and storyline you have ever involved?
So this one, we're gonna have to go back in time all the way to like back in 2016. Um, so I was at a small Fed, of course, because like that was really my roots, at that time and whatnot. And I know people would probably be like, "Oh, but what about your modern storylines?" I had a lot of good ones, then. I mean, like now, but like I will say, like back then, and the one that I'm about to talk about was definitely one that was heartfelt. So after some time, when me and my boy Leap, God rest his soul, sometime after we both disbanded from the Nexus and whatnot, because we was part of a Nexus faction and whatnot, we got into a rivalry, me and him, and I'll always remember this. Like we like fought, back and forth. He won a match, I won a match, but then like when it came down to like the last match, and whatnot, it was crazy because like it was a Bad Blood pay-per-view and they had a match called the Survivor Man match. It was basically a cage with like, weapons and stuff on it. It was a hardcore match. It was a hardcore TD match and whatnot. And like it's crazy because like I remember at one point of the match, we both end up hitting each other's TD and whatnot, and we both just flew into weapons and then we both died. And keep in mind, like we went all the way up to like 10 falls, and we was just gaining members and whatnot because of it and whatnot. So we was at 9 falls, both of us tied, and I was down to red. However, I ended up clutching, and I caught him with a pull TD and I pulled him towards me and he ended up hitting the last, weapon, which was an explosive, it was an explosive something. I forgot what it was called. I think it was the explosive pallet. But yeah, it hit it and he ended up dying and I ended up winning the match, and that kicked off, a good ass friendship between me and him. That was by far my best storyline, and that was my best stipulation.
It is a great um rivalry app came across with. I mean, honestly, once again, it feels extremely underappreciated to see guys like you that you can create these storylines to you want to make wrestling fans pay attention to them to actually see what's going on and stuff. It's it's not like we get this all the time, if you ask me.
I
Uh,
mean, especially when it comes to like the person of who you want to do the storyline with, because you kind of have worries whether they're going to accept or not, or whether when you guys do end up doing the storyline, how it's going to turn out and stuff. So yeah.
and that's how we roll in, man. That's how we supposed to roll in. We gotta make it sense and make it stand out and whatnot. Um, Seventh question. Now, this question is regarding about what people typically call it league clans or factions, whatever you want to
Like a faction.
or like a faction clan. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's been times when you join a clan in a faction, what we called it. There's been times when join this specific thing. There's some aspects that you will have to do, but a lot of times when you're in a small independent scene, like in indie scene, I mean, it's kind of hard to like build yourself up to create those connections all together, especially since um when you're in a major league, it's a very like a hard time to have this time consuming put on. So I'm not saying like joining league is wrong, but there's some aspects that kind of holds you back a little bit. But is joining a wrestling league very important to build yourself up by creating those connections?
In a way, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, like especially if you get an opportunity from like a big ass fucking clan. Like if you get an opportunity in a huge clan, such as Brooks, such as Hayes, Siddle, clans like that, Kosher even. It's very important to build yourself. And the reason why I say this is because like as you build yourself as a wrestler, like depending on what you do when you're in that clan, it could really make the clan members and the leader himself, it could be like however you carry yourself is how they'll look at it and be like, okay, like they can tell like whether you're good or not, you know. And the thing is like if your performance is like, let's say if like you join a clan, right? You don't perform, the way they expect you to and whatnot. They're gonna like a lot of clans. They'll be like, nah, we need this guy out. They'll immediately kick you out, and whatnot. But if you manage to like build yourself to a point, you could become well respected by the members and the leader, mate. So that's why it's important.
I think it's safe to say when it comes to joining a clan. I mean, even if your performance is poorly, uh, not aged like a fine wine, obviously, you still have enough time to improvise yourself in and just try to like to build yourself up, even if your performance is not what you people could expect it according to what you said. Um, for me, I always because I have a faction coming up very soon, obviously the Punishers, and my stuff is just not out yet. I always want to like try to make people listen to me and um try to actually pay attention and actually make this faction to be where it's at, no matter the odds that is trying to holding us back on in the process.
But definitely.
Eighth question. Now, this is outside of Roblox Wrestling here. This question alone, because when you became a wrestling fan, were you not, you've been wondering yourself in your mind state to be like, huh. Maybe one day I will join this wrestling promotion, see what I can do. Maybe one day I will become like the next big thing, something like what other legends and superstars do. Maybe when I do that, I gotta get to the point where I go into indies first before I go to the big scene and stuff. So, Apollo, if you could ever step into the shoes of a real life wrestling promotion only for a year, not forever, because obviously there's going to be a lot of contracts inspired, and who knows, you might be either sign them or not. It's up to you. Um, in what will be the federation you would like to go to?
Well, if Lucha Underground was still existing, pi- I'd choose that. Because I watched a lot of Lucha Underground, back then, and I actually like really loved it. And plus, one of my go-tos, like if I do pursue a wrestling career, I want to know like the way of like the luchador moves and shit like that. Plus, I feel like it's a good, way to wrestle, and it just brings more entertainment. But since it's not existing, I'm gonna go with another choice, another luchador base federation, and I'm gonna say AAA Lucha Libre, because I also been watching, videos on like that company right there, and like I said, it's pretty entertaining. I would love to, compete there and learn a lot.
Honestly, for your role, I mean, you're not really that heavyweight of type guy. You're more of high flyer because you like to, fly all the way around. You're gonna show them your athleticism and your Superman moves.
Well, I mean, IRL, I'm considered a cruiserweight, so.
Makes sense. Got
Plus, it would look weird, being a little guy doing big moves.
Oh, I mean, you're a slim type guy. I mean, so I might as well if it fits your category of cruiserweight. That'll be cool. I mean, I would like to see how you do it in AA because you know, as someone who, like I said, is a wrestling fan and also, a guy who used to be a great gifted a Roblox wrestler is amazing. We got two more questions left before we're gonna wrap this all the way up to the outro. So moving forward to ninth question here. Now this is this question alone. I think this is a good one because a lot of people didn't ask you this, and I'm sure a lot of people can agree on based on what you will say. Because with that gimmick that you have played, I'm gonna tell you it's probably your best, simply because of how you implemented that character and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of gimmicks you have played relying on wrestlers and whatnot. But I think the only one exception is definitely the gimmick that you will mention this that will probably feel obvious the reason why. So, um,
I
Apollo.
think I know a question.
So, Apollo, what is your overall best gimmick you have ever play out based on how you implemented the character?
Ah, it's crazy because like I did, as you said, I did so many gimmicks. I would have said myself, but like I don't really count that as a gimmick. I'm gonna have to go with how when I use my real IRL name, AK the Miz. When I did the Miz gimmick, oh man, that was by far my best gimmick. The way I like executed it too, I had the attitude, the charisma, and like I was able to do a lot. I was able to carry myself like how he does, have this Hollywood, cocky tone when I talk, say fuck the people and stuff like that, and just do what I got to do. And it's crazy because I actually won titles, with that gimmick at Feds, and which also warms my heart to see that I was able to succeed with that gimmick. So definitely has to be my Miz gimmick.
Yes, I already know what the name was. I know because you just mentioned it before we decided to do the interview. You mentioned Adrian Kenneth, man. Yes, Adrian Kenneth. That gimmick alone is one of your best, and not only you just execute accurately, similar to what the Miz does. You did probably out of everybody that did Miz gimmicks, you're probably the only one that does it the most because you actually connect your Hollywood dream gimmick into the to the plate, and you were cooking like you were cooking. I'm sure you could also say Unstable Ken was a Miz gimmick too, but I think you're doing a good job as Miz than Unstable Ken, honestly.
Well, I mean, I had to execute the gimmick perfectly. And plus, Miz being, my most favorite, IRL wrestler, and whatnot, like, I studied, it took me a while to actually study him and study, like, how he acts, like, how he moves and stuff like that. So, like, yeah, I'll definitely say it was a battle, just to try to do that. But like, this is why I'm good. This is why I made sure like I practiced, every promo that I did, um, like, and just overall, practice the character in general.
You did a lot of research on the gimmick itself, and it took you a lot of time. It was a pain in the ass at first, but you got used to it. You utilized it very well.
For sure.
All right, man. Oh, this final question is very kind of unfortunate because I just met you last year, within the last year, and all I had to see you so far was just a couple of storylines here and there, and there wasn't a lot of too many things I had to see. If I was like met you from back in like what 2017, it would have been a better experience. But since I met you last year, it's very unfortunate too. I would like to see more of you doing a lot of things, man. And it's very fortunate that you had to retire for whatever reason you have to retire. I mean, it was stress or not. I mean, it was very pleasure to see that you were working so well within the wrestling community. So what motivated your decision to retire from Pro Wrestling? And do you ever think about Miss being a part of it entirely?
Well, when it comes to like Raw wrestling and whatnot, like I looked back, about how my career was versus how it was now. And then I also had to look at, the things IRL that I got going for me. I have a job, I have priorities, I have responsibilities, I have to take care of my nephew and stuff like that while having to take care of my own health. And it's sad because it's like my health, over the years have deteriorated so much to where I can't even like I can't stress too much, or said things could possibly happen. You know, and it's sad because it's like, do I miss pro wrestling? I miss how stuff was back then, you know. And like I said, my health, my responsibilities, and everything that I got IRL is what led me to retiring, And plus, it's just too much stress. You have to deal with a lot of people. You have to deal with fake people who call themselves, a brother of yours, a friend, but they just turn around and slap you in the face, or you got to deal with toxic Fed owners, toxic people who are a part of the Fed, and whatnot. And let's not mention the fact that we got, PDF files on you know, well, in this community, you got cheaters and you got, people who possess CP, and all this other shit, and which is very fucked up, you know, especially to know that we can't have a community, you know, we can't have a community that's supposed to be about fun, you know. And it's crazy because we had a lot of people, walk into this community, and fuck it up and then just leave it how it is, you know. And do I miss, like I said, do I miss pro wrestling? Well, a little bit, maybe I could have did more. Maybe I could have, won at least one more world title, gained at least one more Hall of Fame, one more Grammy, one more Slammy, you know. But I had to look at what was more important, and I'm glad I made the decision that I made.
You know what? Within that reason, that seems very fairly reasonable. You know what? I think it's you would rather to like improvise your mental health and your responsibilities you got going on outside wrestling. They have to focus on, especially since you mentioned how you look back at your your evolution, your journey that you when you were with in wrestling. It was a crazy route, I must say, for much. As for the other things you mentioned, yeah, I can see because I mean, as long as you ignore these things, oh, you're good to go. But you can't really ignore it because like it's always the same thing that is trending as of right now, same exact things that is going on, nothing new. You know,
Well, I mean, like I said, and overall, like I just don't want to be around, any drama, any bullshit. I'm not trying to beef with people anymore. I don't want to. Well, what I meant was I don't want to, have to beef with people because they start something with me, and stuff like that. It's just made me uncomfortable after a while.
we all humans after all. I mean, you can't really expect everything to be good. There's always going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly. Obviously, in this world.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it, folks. Rose Apollo, if you have anything to say towards to the outro, would you be down doing so?
Sure. I don't mind. Well, uh, yeesh, I didn't think about this at all. um, well, what I will say to all of you out there, shout out to SVR for having me, on his podcast. It's an honor. He's actually a cool person, and I'm glad I got a chance to, know him and whatnot. And for all of you, who still continue to wrestle and whatnot, I'm gonna just let you know this right now. Always remember that IRL things is more important, than stuff on a game. Your mental health comes first. Roblox wrestling, comes last, you know. So the note that I'm trying to send out to all of you is just realize what's more important. And is it actually worth risking?
Always remind people about this too, man, because I think it's just like my one other friend that told me. It said focus on your real life stuff is better than rather than just focus on something on a Lego game. For sure. Um, I would say my outro as well. I would say is thank you guys for watching this episode. If you guys like this type of podcast that I'm doing, be sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell on just so you don't want to miss it within this video. Um, include the other ones, which by the way, you have to check it out. Links will be I think will be down in the description below. Thank you, Rose Apollo, for joining in. It was a very pleasure to have you here. Um,
Thanks
and
for having me.
nice person, definitely a chill guy. we will get to see. Who knows? We might have to interview you again in around in the future. By the time being, um, and
Sure.
yeah, I will see you guys in the next episode of the SVR podcast, where we get to see more people, no matter who it is, musicians, wrestlers, uh, comedy. Uh, Everybody is welcome aboard to the SVR podcast, no matter who it is. Just be sure to tune it in, and get to listen to those based on their background, based on who they are as a person, and yeah, for sure. So yeah, thank you everybody. I'll see you guys on the next episode of the SVR podcast. I'm out. Peace out, y'all.
Okay.
Later. Good